Hi there, everyone. So it was long due, I guess. We are back after quite some time. We mentioned in our last video, if I'm not mistaken, that we would be back by end of June, and we could see that most of you were eagerly waiting for our videos, and we were actually missing out on quite a lot of music that was coming in, especially from Coke Studio Bangla. Then there was Velo Sound Station, a couple of songs being thrown out by Asim Mazhar and whatnot. I mean, everyone just jumped in during that period when we were on a break. But here we are. We are back again with one of our favorite platforms, Coke Studio Bangla, and we are listening to Dewana today by Fuad, Murshidabadi, Tashfee, and Shuchona or Suchona. Let me know what's the correct pronunciation. Um, this track was dropped a couple of days ago. Needless to say, we have already listened to it, but we haven't listened to it with all of you together. So we'll jump into it and then talk about it. Do you want to add something else, or shall we begin?
No, let's
No,
do it. All right.
that's it.
Three, two, one, play.
Coke Studio Bangla, Season 2.
The nylon
Hmm.
guitars are out.
আশেকজন দিওয়ানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকটা জানে না আশেকজন দিওয়ানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকটা জানে না
I love the way they have used Khomok throughout this track.
সৃষ্টি হতে আদম ছবি হবেলে যত নবী সৃষ্টি হতে আদম ছবি হবেলে যত নবী তারাই ছিল আসল পাগল তারাই ছিল প্রেমের পাগল আশেক দিওয়ানা আশেকজন দিওয়ানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকতা জানে না আশেকজন দিওয়ানা
Absolutely right.
মরণের
As
ভয়
ever.
রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকতা জানে না
The backing vocals have also added a lot of color. Getting you enjoying it.
That's Fuad.
আল্লাহ নবী প্রেম করিয়া ভবে আছে লুকাইয়া আল্লাহ নবী প্রেম করিয়া ভবে আছে লুকাইয়া তারাই ছিল আসল পাগল তারাই ছিল প্রেমের পাগল আশেক দিওয়ানা রে আশেকজন দিওয়ানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকতা জানে
Bass is absolute magic.
Good.
মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে ও রসিকতা জানে না
Oh my god. not a fan of beatboxing.
I know.
কোথা সে আশিক বন্ধু কোথা সে শাখা না পাইলাম ঠিকানা তার না পাইলাম দেখা কোন সে আশিক দেওয়ানা দুনিয়ায় আজব কারখানা হে মনের মোর গুইনা গুইনা কইরা থাকি একা
The trajectory completely changed.
কোথা তার রাস্তা রাস্তা জানি না কবুতর
I love this part.
সে হপ্তা হপ্তা যায় খুঁজে কি নিমেষে ঝিলমিল চোখে রাঙিনা ভরসা দুটি চোখ আসমানি সাজা
You can hear Arnob.
Yes. That's the quality of the track as well. That you can hear him.
কে জানে কোথা তার রাস্তা রাস্তা জানি না কবুতর তালাশে হপ্তা হপ্তা যায় খুঁজে ঠিক নিমেষে ঝিলমিল চোখে রাঙিনা মানুষের দুটি চোখ আসমানি সাজায়
Kawali element.
Oh, this is the best part. The best part. Absolute fire.
চাঁদ মদন কয়া সে খইয়া রে চাঁদ মদন কয়া সে খইয়া দিল রৌশন লখু যাইয়া চাঁদ মদন কয়া সে খইয়া দিল রৌশন লখু যাইয়া গনি কয়েছে ভবে মানুষ মুর্শিদ বুঝলাম না আশেকজন দিবানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে হলো সেটা জানে না আশেকজন দিবানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে হলো সেটা জানে না আশেকজন দিবানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে হলো সেটা জানে না আশেকজন দিবানা মরণের ভয় রাখে না মরণের আগে মরে হলো সেটা জানে না
Whew.
Did this song not remind, I mean, uh, bring back the memories of some other Coke Studio track or kind of arrangement? I mean,
Not that I can think of.
it's not an, I mean,
What do you have in your mind?
it reminded me of Pagol, the kind of craziness that was there. It's basically part of this particular track.
Yeah.
Just I felt it. The similar sort of magic has been infused in this track as well. Yeah, but you go.
Yeah. To me, not. So the first time I heard it, the first thing that was coming to my mind, like right in between the track, was this track is very hard to hate. So far, I am finding it very hard to hate because there were a couple of things that were just not working for me the first time I heard it, right? And as soon as Boga came on, and I forgot everything. You know, that I was like, yeah, this is it. This is what I want. Then I heard it like multiple times, and this has grown on me. And there are certain things that have been solidified for me. The first thing, as I mentioned, the beatboxing didn't work for me at all. The Murshidabadi's part, his vocals, I think that didn't work for me because I thought that he doesn't have the throw, he doesn't have the power.
Okay. Yeah.
What?
No, I mean,
Yeah. So
it's like you're reading my mind. Absolutely. I was just gonna come to Murshidabadi, but go on.
right. So Murshidabadi's, I didn't think that he has the power required to live this track, especially what the arrangement was offering. Right. So that's what I think. The as the description mentions that this is, I mean, there's Qawwali element to it, or the Bangla version of Qawwali, where they rather celebrate. It's done in a celebratory manner, right? And Fuad has added a lot of funk to it, and I totally dig the funk,
Funk. Yeah.
right? I'm absolutely on. So the bass, the instrumentals were on point, minus certain things, right? The backing vocals were on point, absolute crazy, absolute beautiful. Then as soon as the Boga came on, this is where I was like, yeah,
This
this
is.
is the Qawwali I want. This is the version of Qawwali I would like to hear. So we have heard multiple renditions of Qawwali from Coke Studios. So we have heard Qawwalis in its purest form, the Western version of Qawwali, or the one we have from Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan and and Amjad Sabri's and all these big names, Abda Parveen and all. We have heard that version of Qawwali, and then we have seen Coke Studio take Qawwali and left Qawwali in a completely different direction, right? From season 4 and all, my favorite Qawwalis from there, right? Added a lot of electronic music or fashion instrumentals. Here, this is a completely new rendition, new version of how a Qawwali can be
Left.
lifted, elevated. And I totally dig that. So I've again repeating myself that Boga, when as soon as Boga came on, this is what I would want. I mean, it could be a 20 minutes track. I would totally dig that. And that's, the thing is that we know that this is a very experimental
Of course.
version of things, right? So there's a lot of experimentation going on here. And even if some things don't work, you push the boundaries to find out what is gonna work, what's not gonna work. For some people, everything's gonna work. For some people, none is gonna work, right? For some people, some things, for us, some things worked brilliantly. But this is, you only find out once you do experiments. You push boundaries, you break boundaries, you break rules.
True.
And here, they have broken so many rules, pretty much, right? And one of the rules that they have broken when Boga came on, this is something that I found that is something super new, something super excited, and only because they experimented, I can envision some future where we can have this kind of magic.
True. I think you pretty much summed it up pretty good. This song also did not instantly hit me. I was listening to it the first time, probably because of three or four reasons. I would just get them. I will just mention them and then talk to the good points. Talk about the good points then. First of all, beatboxing. You are absolutely right. I also don't appreciate, or maybe I'm just ignorant of the skill that is being put in beatboxing. I listen to beatboxing in isolation on occasion, and it sounds pretty fun to me. But when it comes to this particular track, it felt initially to me a bit off. Bit off in a sense, like in terms of arrangement, not that the guy was off. But when I listened to it after two, three times, I actually liked the part where they experimented with beatboxing and there was a string instrument that the guy was playing in the background. There was no major instruments being played at that time, and I started to appreciate that particular part now. Murshidabadi, you are absolutely spot on. That was the same thing that I was thinking about listening to this track, because this track is about Diwangi, Sufism, Ashki, right?
Exactly,
Right?
exactly.
And
Yeah.
why I kept mentioning Bobar Pagal was that Bobar Pagal was also about Sufism, right? The nomads, the uh, the people who are basically just considered mad. The arrangement in that particular track was all chaos and all madness. But on top of that, Nigar Sumi's voice had that particular punch that you were
Yes,
instantly hooked to this.
yes.
And I mean, nothing to take away.
The Pagol in it.
Yeah, the madness in it, the madness,
The
yeah.
element of Pagol. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nothing to take away from Murshidabadi. I loved his work in Shoblo Kwe when we listened to in season
Yeah,
one.
yeah,
But here, I think the choice of the main vocalist could have been better, or probably Murshidabadi would have had if he had sung a different song, it would have suited more as a style that he has. Because it was on occasions where I could imagine that someone with extremely strong vocals would have thrown a punch with
yeah,
extreme
yeah,
higher notes or crazy notes, and it felt a bit flat on those occasions to me only. Yeah, so that's about Murshidabadi. The third and last thing, the outro of this particular track, I felt a bit off to me. I don't know.
dampened.
Yeah, the
It dampened the experience.
absolutely. What it's called, I think there's a trumpet kind of instrument that is being played that is playing the main melody of this particular track, which is the chorus melody. And there, I mean, I'm just imagining on top of my head, I would have appreciated if electric guitar would have done that. I personally, it's just a subjective opinion, would have liked it more. It would have sounded more crazy, more towards divinity in terms of arrangement, rather than that the trumpet sound. It felt kind of a wedding band kind of sound. I could imagine that it was done because of the funky elements, but I think
Yeah,
the outro for me could have been slightly better. But that being said, there are some amazing parts in this particular track, especially the Tashfee and Shuchona's part, as you mentioned,
yeah.
along with the vertical drums when they were repeating those chorus part.
Exactly,
It was just brilliant. It was just hitting you hard.
exactly.
It was just hitting you hard.
So this is where the divangi
Yeah,
is forced out
out.
of yourself. You know,
Yeah.
they are forcing the listeners to, to enable them to let the divangi out. The drums, it resonates. It you know kind of, yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that part. I absolutely. So this whole funk, the bass, throughout the bass, the drums, the vertical
The
drums and
vertical
all.
drums. Yeah.
This is where you would go malang. This would force you to move.
Yeah.
These are the beats that you can go malang on it or pagol on it.
Absolutely.
Usually the kavalis tend to do that. They tend to weave trance around you. They weave a spell around you that puts you in a trance, that puts you in a state where you are connecting with divinity in your own terms. The funk, along with when Boga came on,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
even the jugalbandi between Murshidabadi and Boga
Boga.
was brilliant, brilliant,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And absolutely, I totally agree with you on that.
And I would just like to mention Fuad's work. He has done brilliant. He has created an entirely different,
Yes.
like as you said, entirely different picture of Qawwali for me with the funk. And what I mentioned during the song was the use of Khomok. I have identified that they are using Khomok quite prominently throughout the season. Um, the use of Khomok with the drums is sounding so beautiful to me. It creates some sort of organic beat. The beats that you listen, it is so wonderfully done, and it was actually adding to that element of funkiness that Fuad infused. So many people have asked us to listen to Fuad's work, and here it was on display. For I haven't listened to any of his other tracks, but his talent was completely on display in this particular track.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. So some things, it first of all, it's stitched together intentionally, right? So Murshidabadi is singing in a ghazal-like way. It's written in the description,
Written, yeah, it's
right?
written.
That it's done intentionally, right? But for me, what Coke Studio represents is I mean, Coke Studio originally was fusion, right?
Mm,
Eastern and Western fusion.
mm.
You take Eastern elements, you take Western elements, and you try to fuse them together in a manner that could work, right? So Coke Studio for me is always about what can be, and not about what it
It
is,
is, yeah.
what has been. It is always about what could be, and this is a brilliant example of what could be. When I say that what could Kawali be,
Yeah.
and I'm excited for the future. If someone can take this funk and do a proper Kawali, that's totally my
Absolutely.
jam, right?
Absolutely.
That's totally what I would love. Some people out there would see Tashfee and the other female vocalist, hard to pronounce her name. Some people would think that this would hit if we would have this kind of pop kind of singing, where with this kind of beat, this would hit, you know. And for some people, ghazal might work with this kind
With
of,
this kind of,
right?
yeah.
For me, what this is a brilliant example of what could be, and they have given us something completely new through experimentation that brightens the future.
Absolutely. I think you rightly mentioned about Murshidabadi's style of singing, as mentioned in the description as well. And it was done probably intentional because of the kind of poetry that this track has. And again, it was an experimentation. We probably, I mean, it's a subjective opinion. We probably wouldn't have appreciated it in that way. With Probably other people would have appreciated the way he has sung in this track,
Exactly.
and it probably resonates more with the poetry that it has. And yeah,
But
yeah,
also it's very, very important that you don't allow a track to slip in a direction that is completely funk, that is completely Western. So there's no element of fusion. So
correct.
you are trying to fuse it with Eastern elements, with your own culture. And if you forgo your culture,
True,
then
true,
that's not the purpose of Coke Studio,
true.
right? So intentionally adding Murshidabadi and other elements. I mean, this is how you experiment. You find out what works, what not, right? And again, each to their own. And for me, this has opened some doors
Yeah,
which I look forward to.
absolutely. That's what I was thinking as well when I listened to it a couple of times. It has started to grow on me as well. And I'm actually excited to see what comes up next from Cook Studio Bangla because of the kind of experimentation that they're doing.
But the point here is that this is not only limited to Bangla now.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
they have shown something to the world which can be adopted in India,
India,
Pakistan,
yeah,
and elsewhere,
absolutely. Elsewhere.
right? Elsewhere, the whole world now knows that this has been created, and this works really well with Kawali, and this could work really well with something else. Why not experiment on top of their work? Why
Absolutely.
not piggyback on their work? And this is the brilliance of it.
Opened a lot of avenues for the other artists as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. I think this was pretty interesting. We would be listening to Kotha Koyona, so don't really think that we are not going to listen to it together. We are late on that track, obviously, but because of some foreseen and unforeseen scenarios. Until then, take care of yourself and let us know your thoughts around this track, what elements you appreciated the most. And yeah, that's a wrap from our side. See you on the next one. Until then, take care.
Thank you. Bye bye.